Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're back with Snapshot 25w17a, and this one is a bit of a weird one. All this snapshot adds is the locator bar, but they have removed it from experimental toggles. So you can now mess around with it without needing to enable the toggle for it, which also now confirms that it will be added in the next Minecraft update with the happy ghasts and ghaslings. Now before we jump to the patch notes a little bit more to cover about it, because the patch notes are also quite confusing because I think they've just copied and pasted. There's a lot of duplicated text within the patch notes. So if we go to, I think, video settings, there's a new setting inside of the game that you can control the clouds. Yes, here we go, cloud distance. So if we quickly just tab back out, you can see currently my clouds are going all the way to the end of my render distance. Decreasing and increasing your render distance doesn't change the amount of clouds. The clouds just go until the end of what you can see. But if we was to quickly just go to video settings, scroll all the way to the bottom, cloud distance, we can turn this down from 2 chunks all the way to 128. And you can see in the background that the clouds are slowly disappearing. So 2 chunks, if I quickly just turn that on. So it seems like 2 chunks is completely disabling clouds, which you can already do within the game. So let's see how many we have to have it for the clouds to appear. I guess if I look straight up, this would be the best way to do it. Okay, so they start appearing around 10 chunks, but you can see anything before this, they're kind of faint. 10 chunks, they are still kind of faint, but you can at least see them. Now, one other thing that we can quickly just test with this is this affected by the player's height? So if I was to go up to around cloud height, which is 192, does that mean that the clouds will then render because I'm within 2 chunks of them? Clouds would normally render, yes. Okay, here we go. You can see there is one singular cloud, but as we go down, you can see the cloud does disappear. So it seems like the cloud render distance is a new type of render distance. A lot of people didn't like this cloud change. Honestly, I'm a big fan of it because before it looked kind of weird how clouds were only above the player. Now, you can obviously customize it. Now, also inside this update, they've added some new block tags, which we're going to quickly just cover. And these are related to the happy ghast. So if I scroll down, I think, yes, happy ghast avoids. So they will avoid sweet berry bushes, cactus, wither rose, magma, fire, and pointed dripstone. So I'm guessing there was probably a lot of issues where they would randomly die on these blocks where they didn't really look for them. And there's another block tag in this update, and that is triggers ambient dried ghast block sounds. And that is soul sand and soul soil. And then they did also have these ones, which I think these were already here. This is triggers ambient desert dry vegetation block sounds. That's just terracotta, red sand, and sand. And then there's also this one, triggers ambient desert sand block sounds, which is just sand and red sand. But I have added a new command, which is called /waypoint. And this you can list or modify. Sadly, at the moment, you can't add waypoints to your world using this. But if we modify, you can see you can modify any players. So I can modify the color of mine. I can also modify the style of mine. And then I can also list, which this will just list all waypoints within the world. Which obviously, because it's only me, there is only my waypoint. But then if we quickly just jump to the patch notes, I'm not going to cover this too much. This was in, I think, like 2 weeks ago's patch notes. And they're just saying the locator bar, how to use it, the fact that it covers the XP bar. If you're in single player, the XP bar will work as normal. Then it says that obviously there's some game rules to disable it, crouching and certain things disable it. Then they also do show that mob heads and carved pumpkins disable it as well, and so do invisibility potions. They have also updated data pack version in this to 74 and resource pack version to 58. And then there is also some new things in this update, which you can see right here. These are new attributes, so you can customize these, and this is waypoint transmit range and waypoint receive range. And this just basically determines how far players can receive and transmit waypoints. And you can see some examples right here how you can customize these. So for example, setting a waypoint transmit range to 0 will prevent a player from transmitting, basically hiding them. And set it to 80 will only let a player transmit up to 80 blocks. So this is really cool for map makers because you can create some really cool customized things just with a command. And they do also talk about waypoint broadcasting. The locator bar works by server-side control waypoint system. Waypoints are received by players and connections between tags. They also have removed fog is sky, and this is in favor of splitting up the sky shader. Now there are also some bug fixes within this update, which there's not really anything too good. It seems like there's some dispensers cannot equip harnesses onto a happy gas. That is now fixed. There was also an issue with one of the Woodland Mansion pieces not generating. One thing I can do though, I can't show off the waypoint system with other players, but I can do this. They've given this example command in the chat, so let's just do text as test. You can see the waypoint bar is now showing where that armor stand is because it's got a waypoint connected to it. And once again, if I was to do waypoint list, you'll now see that it's got me in it and also test, which is this armor stand. So this means you can now attach waypoints to other mobs using commands. So we could have a pig with a waypoint. This creates for so many cool survival things, but also creative and map makers. But one thing we can also do, once again, jumping back to that command, is waypoint modify. We want to modify test, which is the armor stand. And let's do color. Let's modify it. Let's do light purple. So you can see currently it's a yellow. And you can now see it's light purple. And let's quickly just do another one over here. So let's just summon this one and let's call this one just T. Let's do it for now. And you can also see we are adding attributes to this. So this by default has a waypoint transmit range of 1000. So that means if I go further than 1000 blocks, I wouldn't be able to see either of these. And once again, you can see there is the green one and there is the purple one. Once again, if these were to crouch, one thing I quickly want to test is if I was to put like a mob skull on these, does it hide it? Because obviously that works with players, but does it work with armor stands? It does. So as you can see, I can now only see the purple one because this one is wearing a mob head. So we could do something like this. This is really cool. Because if I was to quickly just go over here, obviously this would be better redstone, but I've just done it as a pressure plate for now. So if we're walking through some kind of forest, we can obviously hide this armor stand with skulk sensors or something like that. And as you can see, it's now gone from the map. It's now only showing this one. This is such a cool feature. Let's see if it does work with another mob. So we are summoning an armor stand. Let's maybe summon a... Let's do armadillo. Does this one? Yes, there we go. You can see that I'm showing both. If I quickly just throw a mob head on that one, you can see it's now only the armadillo one that is showing the waypoint. This one right here will only submit a transmission if I'm within 10 blocks. So I'm within 10 blocks. If I go further than 10 blocks, you can see I'm still looking at it, but it's now vanished. But one other thing I do quickly want to mention is if we was to quickly just gain experience with this locator bar. So you can see the locator bar is currently working. If I was to gain experience, you can see the locator bar disappears for a few seconds and it will return in a few seconds. Although you can see it still does show my levels. It just doesn't show the progression through the XP bar until you're actually gaining XP. But once again, that is it within this snapshot. It was quite a small one. It seems like they were just focusing this week on bringing the locator bar out of experimental snapshots, which is a bit weird. They added it to experimental snapshots and didn't just release it anyway. But once again, that is it for this video. If you did enjoy, do like and subscribe. But once again, I really do hope in the future they expand it so you can give waypoints to blocks, not just entities. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.